Okay, let's continue our portion again, and we are going to break the suspense over here. So let's have a quick recap upon whatever we have studied till now. Kondiba, the blind boy, he is about to rescue the person Aravind. Will he be able to rescue Aravind or not? That is something that we need to learn right now. So it's been some time since Aravind has been in the water in the well, and for the first time, Kondiba went inside, dived inside the well, but he couldn't rescue Aravind. And again, the second time he tried, both the times he couldn't succeed in rescuing Aravind. Both the times he couldn't succeed in rescuing Aravind. Now let's look up on the next paragraph. I'm just highlighting it so that you can have the text. Kondiba was very tired, but he knew he was Arvind's only hope. So that is what that makes such people different from others. That is what that makes such people different from others. What is the one thing that makes such kind of people different from other people? It is their character. See, we already studied in the first passage or in the initial portion that who is a real hero? A real hero is a person who, in spite of his troubles and weaknesses or his own difficulties, he is able to understand other people's problem and are able to help other people. See, Kondiba is a blind boy. It's very risky for him to rescue somebody from the well because he himself is a blind boy. But what he is doing, yes, he is, even though he was a blind boy, he is trying to help the Aravind. Even though Kondiba is a blind boy, still also he is trying to help Aravind. Even though he is a blind boy, he is still trying to help Aravind. Kondiba was very tired, but he knew he was Aravind's only hope. He worked as fast as he could. So, who is working as fast as he could? Yes, Kondiba is working as fast as he could, feeling his way through the mud and the weeds. Feeling his way through the mud and the weeds. Arvind must be there, he thought. He cannot have vanished. That's the thought of Kondiba. So Kondiba is thinking what? Yeah, Arvind just got into the well, and now where he can escape, where he can vanish, not escape, where he can vanish. He should be here. So Arvind thought, sorry, Kondiba thought he cannot be vanished, so he should be here. Next para. Kondiba's ribs were aching. Aching means paining. Kondiba's ribs, ribs, right? Yeah, his ribs were aching, paining. He couldn't hold his breath much longer. So Kondiba is not able to hold his breath any longer. Then, just as he was about to twist his body upright and kick himself to the surface, then, just as he was about to twist his body upright, that means he was about to turn upright and was about to kick himself to the surface. So he was about to give up. It was the last minute because he cannot control, or his lungs are not able to continue more in the water. They need oxygen immediately. So just as he was about to twist his body upright and kick himself to the surface, his finger felt something soft among the weeds. What is his finger felt? His finger felt something soft among the weeds. These useless plants that among the I mean between the useless plants, he felt something. Cloth. He moved his hand further and touched Arvind's legs. So he could feel the cloth of Aravind. So he moved his hand further and touched Aravind's leg. The boy's body was held in the mud and weeds. So why couldn't he find Aravind? Because the boy's body was held in the mud and weeds. The boy's body was held in the mud and I'm reading it once again. Kondiba's ribs were aching. He couldn't hold his breath much longer. Then, just as he was about to twist his body upright and kick himself to the surface, his finger felt something soft among the weeds. Cloth. He moved his hand further and touched Arvind's legs. The boy's body was held in the mud and weeds. Next para. Kondiba's heart was beating painfully. Kondiba's heart was beating painfully. He badly needed to breathe. It's been some time since he is in the water. So he badly needed to breathe. He felt desperately for something to hold in order to pull Aravind up and out of the net he was in. Give me a minute, okay? He felt desperately for something to hold in order to pull Aravind up. So he need to, hold on something to pull Aravind up. And out of the net he was in. He was in kind of a net. He was in kind of a net right now. Suddenly, he felt Arvind's belt. Suddenly, what could he feel? He felt Arvind's belt. Holding it tightly with his right hand. He held Arvind's belt tightly with his right hand. He pulled the lad free. We already studied lad means the boy. He pulled the boy free, turned about and pushed up. He just freed him and he turned about and pushed up. His spine and muscles ached. There was severe pain in his body. Whose body? Kondiba's body. There were his spine and muscles were paining. This almost stopped his movements. He was about to collapse. Who was about to collapse? The blind. Kondiba was about to collapse. His weak, starved body fought against what his mind told him he must do. So his weak, starved body, his body is now very weak and starving means he hadn't had the food. When he was about to have the food, he had the scream and came here. So his body is weak and there is also the starvation. He is starving. So his weak, starved body fought against what his mind told him to do. He must do. So what is happening here? His mind is telling you just leave the thing and you just rescue yourself. That was his mind telling. So that was his okay. That was his mind telling. But his weak, starved body fought against what his mind told him must do. So his mind told him just leave the boy and come up. But he had the commitment. He decided and he had the commitment or dedication for rescuing the boy. So, in spite of his mind telling him to rescue himself, he went ahead and rescued the boy. I'm reading it once again. Kondiba's heart was beating painfully. He badly needed to breathe. He felt desperately for something to hold in order to pull Aravind up and out of the net he was in. Suddenly, he felt Aravind's belt. Holding it tightly with his right hand, he pulled the lad free, turned about, and pushed up. His spine and muscles ached. This almost stopped his movements. His weak, starved body fought against what his mind told him he must do. Keeping a tight hold on the boy's belt, Kondiba struggled to push himself upwards with his free hand and feet. So next para. Kondiba, keeping a tight hold on the boy's belt. So Kondiba is keeping a tight hold on Arvind's belt. Kondiba struggled to push himself upwards with his free hand and feet. So in his one hand, he is holding the boy. So with the other hand and the feet, he is trying to push himself upwards with his free hand and feet. Keeping a tight hold on boy's belt, Kondiba struggled to push himself upwards with his free hand and feet. Next para. It seemed a long time before he rose them 6 meters from the bottom and broke surface. So sometimes we also feel like that, right? It seemed a long time before he rose the 6 meters from the bottom and broke surface. It was only 6 meters for him to come up. It's a fraction. It will be within few seconds, but still also he felt it a long time. While sometimes when we do something boring, it feel like the time is not at all going up. Like, but when we are enjoying something, we feel like it has gone very fast. How our mind works. But here the case, because Kondiba was really in need of air. Kondiba is really in need of air, and even though it was only 6 meters for him to come from the bottom to the top, but still also he felt it's a long distance. While he gasped for breath, other hands quickly lifted Arvind up and out of the well. While he gasped, that gasp, while he gasped for breath, other hands quickly lifted Arvind up and out of the well. So he's within one hand he was swimming upward, and in the other hand he was holding Arvind. So as he was gasping for breath, his other hand lifted Arvind up and out of the well. Kondiba held on to the well's rocky side. So there were rocks around the well. So Kondiba held on to the well's rocky side. So he held on to the well's rocky side. His eyes closed. Even though he doesn't, he is a blind boy. So his eyes closed. His body tired. He heard but paid little attention to the sounds of people trying to give Arvind artificial respiration. He heard, he was hearing, but paid little attention to the sounds of people trying to give Arvind artificial respiration. So he would have thought that, okay, my responsibility is over. So he was just, satisfied, or he was just, feeling happy. So he heard but paid little attention to the sounds of people trying to give Arvind artificial respiration. Finally, the boy means Arvind, began to vomit water, and cries to joy came to Kondiba, still holding tightly to the side of the wall. So, side of the well. Finally, the boy began to vomit water. The boy began to vomit water, and cries to joy came to Kondiba. So there was a big cry of happiness. Why? Because the boy is saved. Came to Kondiba, still holding tightly to the side of the well. So the boy could be saved. He could vomit water and he started to breathe. Okay, I'm reading the para once again. It seemed a long time before he rose the 6 meters from the bottom and broke surface. While he gasped for breath, other hands quickly lifted Aravind up and out of the well. Kondiba held on to the well's rocky side, his eyes closed, his body tired. He heard but paid little attention to the sounds of people trying to give Aravind artificial respiration. Finally, the boy began to vomit water, and cries to joy came to Kondiba, still holding tightly to the side of the well. Next para. Okay, see the highlighted portion. Then Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. Then Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. A man helped Kondiba out of the well, and a woman patted him affectionately on the shoulder. Then Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. Okay, just let's like before we proceed any further, let's okay, fine. We don't have any words. Then Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. So now Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. Now Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. Now, a man helped Kondiba out of the well. A man helped Kondiba. A man helped Kondiba out of the well. And a woman patted him affectionately on the shoulder. Patted means touching gently. A woman patted him affectionately means lovingly on the shoulder. Bai led him back to the hut. Bai led him back to the hut. There, Kondiba put on his clothes. He put on his clothes, finished his half-eaten meal, and fell asleep. So he put on his clothes, he finished his half-eaten meal, and fell asleep. I'm reading it again. Then Aravind was hurried away to the hospital. A man helped Kondiba out of the well, and a woman patted him affectionately on the shoulder. Bai led him back to the hut. There, Kondiba put on his clothes, finished his half-eaten meal, and fell asleep. Next para. That evening, a police officer came to tell the blind beggar that the boy he had saved would be all right. So that evening, a police officer came to tell the blind beggar. That evening, who came? A police officer came to tell the blind beggar that the boy he had saved would be all right. Kondiba later learned that if the boy had been in the well longer, his brain would certainly have damaged from lack of oxygen. So Kondiba later learned what? He later learned that if the boy had been in the well longer, his brain would certainly have been damaged from lack of oxygen. And Kondiba had saved him just in time. So Kondiba had saved him just in time. Some one or 2 minutes more, then who would have died? Arvind would have died. But he could have saved Kondiba at the right time. He could save Kondiba at the right time. He couldn't rescue him in 2 attempts, but the third attempt was crucial. If he would have rescued him in the fourth attempt, that could have destroyed Arvind's brain. So, you need to understand, if our brain is not receiving oxygen for more than 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, the brain cells could damage, and the person could go to a coma where he will never be able to come back to his own life, or he may even lose the functionality of the human body. So there were lots of troubles that could have happened to Aravind, but nothing happened by the grace of God. Kondiva could rescue the person at the right time. That evening, a police officer came to tell the blind beggar that the boy he had saved would be all right. Kondiba later learned that if the boy had been in the well longer, his brain would certainly have been damaged from lack of oxygen. And Kondiba had saved him just in time. Okay, I'm reading it once again. That evening, a police officer came to tell the blind beggar that the boy he had saved would be all right. Kondiba later learned that if the boy had been in the well longer, his brain would certainly have been damaged from lack of oxygen. And Kondiba had saved him just in time. The next afternoon, Aravind returned to Goliba. He went at once to Kondiva, and while his aunt watched with tears in her eyes, he touched Kondiva's feet in gratitude. See what is happening over here? The next afternoon, the following afternoon, Aravind returned to Goliba. Aravind, the boy who was supposed to die, returned to Goliba. He went at once to Kondiva. He went to whom? He went at once to Kondiva, and while his aunt watched with tears in her eyes, his aunt was watching with tears in her eyes, he touched Kondiva's feet in gratitude. Gratitude means with thankfulness. With a thankful heart, he touched Kondiva's feet. The next afternoon, Arvind returned to Goliva. He went at once to Kondiva, and while his aunt watched with tears in her eyes, he touched Kondiva's feet in gratitude. Okay, next paragraph. Indeed, Kondiva had saved a life. Indeed, Kondiva had saved a life. But his own still had to go on. He's a blind boy begging in the street. So his own still had to go on. For him, that meant begging. That means he has to beg. By afternoon, Kondiba was back on the streets of Mumbai with his gunny sack. So by one day he's gone, probably he would have been tired, so he would have taken a rest little longer. By afternoon, Kondiba was back on the streets of Mumbai. Kondiba was again back on the streets of Mumbai with his gunny sack. However, word soon began to spread about the beggar's courage. Word soon began to spread about the beggar's courage. His picture and the story of his daring rescue were published in many national and local papers. So his picture and the story of his daring rescue, were published in many national and local newspapers. So his daring rescue was published in many national and local papers. Suddenly, Kondiba became a hero. Suddenly, who became a hero? Kondiba became a hero. He was praised by the governor. The chief minister of Maharashtra, and other officials. So he was praised by the governor, the chief minister of Maharashtra, and other officials. Rewards totaling rupees 12,970 were presented to him. How much rupees he got? He was rewarded with rupees 12,970 rupees. And you need to understand, the boy didn't rescue him not by expecting any reward. Okay, that you need to understand. He did his job. He did his job. That's it. And he was not at all expecting any reward. That is the reason the next day he was with his gunny bag in the streets of Mumbai. But it was the government who recognized his effort and rewarded him a total of 12,970. And you need to understand, His income per day is around 5 to 6 rupees only, but he received that much amount of money. For a few months, he was given a home in he was given a home in a home for the blind. So what they are doing? They are giving him a home for a for the where the blind people are living. Here he learned some skills such as bottling and the weaving of chair seats. So there he learned some skills. What are the skills that he learned? He learned modeling and weaving of chair seats. Okay, I'm reading it again. Indeed, Kondiba had saved a life, but his own life had to go on. And for him, that meant begging. By afternoon, Kondiba was back on the streets of Mumbai with his gun in his hand. However, word soon began to spread about the beggar's courage. His picture and the story of his daring rescue were published in many national and local papers. Suddenly, Kondiva became a hero. He was praised by the governor, the chief minister of Maharashtra, and other officials. Rewards totaling rupees 12,970 were presented to him. For a few months, he was given a home in a home for the blind. Here, he learned some skills such as bottling and weaving of chair seats. Today, Kondiba lives in Jalna, a market town close to his native village. Today, where is Kondiba living? Today, Kondiba lives in Jalna, a market town close to his native village. He has married a local girl and runs a small business. So, Kondiba had married a local girl and is running a small business. Kondiba Gaikwad's bravery and determination to find the boy in the well had completely changed his own life. So Kondiba Gaikwad's bravery and determination, Kondiba Gaikwad's bravery and determination to find the boy in the well had completely changed his own life. The beggar who hated begging need never beg again. So the beggar who hated begging need never beg again. Such a happy ending to the story, right? So today Kondiva lives in Jalna, a market town close to his native village. He has married a local girl and runs a small business. Kondiba Gaikwad's bravery and determination to find the boy in the well had completely changed his own life. The beggar who hated begging never, hated begging need never beg again. So I hope you all like the story. Okay, so let's proceed further and let's continue the portions. Let us understand the text. So we are here, we are given different parts. I think it's 3 parts. So let's see the first part. So there you can see Kondiba Gaikwa till cry. So you have to see the portion till from Kondiba Gaikwa to cry. Have you noticed boys and girls begging at traffic lights and markets? So they are asking us, have you noticed boys and girls begging at traffic lights and markets? So you would have noticed boys and girls begging at traffic lights and markets. What do you feel when you see them? So what do you feel when you see somebody begging in the streets? Most of them are young. Many of these young people have been forced to move away from their native places to earn a livelihood. So many of these young people have been forced to move away from their native places to earn a livelihood. They may even have been kidnapped and forced to work or beg when they should have been in school. They may even have been kidnapped and forced to work. They may even have been kidnapped and forced to work or beg when they should have been in school preparing for a bright future. So they should have been in the school preparing for a bright future, but their circumstances have forced them to beg. Have you ever wondered what kind of dreams these young people have? Huh? Do you think they are different from yours? Have you ever wondered what kind of dreams these young people have? Do you think they are different from yours? Kondiba is a blind man who comes to Mumbai in search of work. Kondiba is a blind man who comes to Mumbai in search of work. He lives in a slum and begs for his living. He lives in a slum and begs for his living. In The slum where he lives, there is an open well. It has no walls and is very unsafe. One evening, Kondiba hears a woman cry out that someone has fallen into the well. Now you have to do something over here. You have to do something over here. Let us do. Newspapers and magazines publish the stories of people who become heroes. Huh? Newspaper and magazines publish the stories of people who become heroes because of their bravery, compassion, empathy, or ability of decision making in difficult or critical circumstances. Cut out the stories of such people and paste them in a scrap pile. Huh? You have to cut out such stories and you have to paste them in a scrap pile. It means a pile which is of not so costly one, a local one. Collect at least 5 such stories. It's an assignment for you. You need to do this assignment. Take a photo and send to me. Newspaper and magazines publish the stories of people who become heroes because of their bravery, compassion, empathy, or ability of decision making in difficult or critical circumstances. Cut out the stories of such people and paste them in a scrap file. Collect at least 5 such stories. Write in 3 to 4 sentences how the actions of the people in the stories influenced you. That again is an assignment, you have to do it. Write in 3 to 4 sentences how the actions of the people in the stories. Now you have some in-text questions. 3.1. When and how did Kondiba became blind? When and how did Kondiba became blind? Please write the answer for this question and send to me all these questions. Okay, question number 2. Kondiba hated begging, but he had to beg. Why did he start begging? Give 2 reasons to complete the following statements. Kondiba hated begging, but he had to beg. Why did he start begging? Give 2 reasons to complete the following statements. So he could not. He came to know that the beggars. So by having the initial phrases, we can complete that answers. Write them. Finish the answer and take a photo and send to me. If you were in Kondiba's place and would lose your eyesight, what would you do? So if you are in Kondiba's place, like Kondiba, you in your 6th year or 8th year, you lost your eyesight. So how would you live? How would you react? Huh? Write it down. Who had dug the well? Where was it dug? Who had dug the well? Where was it dug? Why was the well dug? See, in the third question, you need to also think about how a blind person could think. That's the way we will feel an empathy to such people or sympathy to such people. Sorry, next question. What had happened to the water in the well within 2 years? That again a question that you need to answer. What had happened to the water in the well within 2 years? Seventh question. What happened one day when Kondiba was having good? Let's go for the part 2. Kondiba till disappointment. In the previous section, we read that one day when in the previous section we read that one day when Kondiba was having his meal, he heard a woman cry out that someone had fallen into the well. Kondiba asked a woman to take him to the well. He knows how to swim. He was good swimmer as a young boy, but poverty has made him weak. Without considering this, Kondiba jumps into the well to save a young boy named Aravind. Don't you think he is very brave to do so? He dives down again to search for the boy, but cannot find him. And each time he comes up, he feels more and more tired. The people standing near the well feel disappointed each time Kondiba comes up without Aravind. Do you think Kondiba continues to search for Aravind? Think. So this is what we have already discussed. Now we need to answer the questions. First question, what did Kondiba do as soon as he heard that someone had fallen into the well? What did Kondiba do as soon as he heard that someone had fallen into the well? We already discussed it. Second question, pick the correct sentence. When Kondiba reached the well, he found that Aravind had fallen into the well. He felt helpless as he had no sight. He dived into the well to save Aravind. You need to take the right one. Only if you had understood the lesson, you will be able to give a proper answer here. How many times did Kondiba go into the well? Was his experience the same or different every time? This again, if you have understood the text, you will be able to answer it. How many times did Kondiba go into the well? Was his experience the same or different every time? Next question. Why was the crowd disappointed? Again, that was in the text that we had learned. Why was the crowd disappointed? If you were, next question, if you were Kondiba, what would you do in such a situation? If you were Kondiba, what would you do in such a situation? Now, there is something that they have given for us to understand. Do you know how to help oneself and others in emergencies or disastrous situations? How to help oneself and others in emergencies or disastrous situations. In life, we come across accidents. In life, we come across accidents like fires, plane crashes, road accidents, drowning cases of drowning, as well as calamities such as floods, earthquakes, cyclones, terrorist attacks. In all these emergencies, we can improve the survival rates with our preparedness and empathy towards others. Only if you are prepared enough, you will be able to do some rescue when you see somebody in trouble. If you are not prepared, at such situation, you will be totally confused. We only need to remember the following rules. Be brave and stay calm. So, number one thing, you should be brave and you should stay calm. Certain coping devices like controlled rhythmic breathing can keep anxiety under control. So, when you see an accident or when you see such kind of a thing, you will feel worried. You will feel the fear may come up. So, you need to have you need to know how to control your fear by doing some breathing. You can take a deep breath and you can just release the breath slowly, and you will have some relief over your anxiety. Make a thorough assessment of the situation. See the situation and see how you can do the rescue. I see a rescue of a train collision. Two trains collided each other, and a person who knows how to handle the situation just came inside the train. And I was like, this was the way how he handled the situation. There was people everywhere crying and in pain and groaning. Everything was happening. He just stood up and announced like this: those who are able to stand up and walk, please do that. So many people could stand up and walk away. Then there were the other people who were laying and who were in need of other treatment. He could go ahead and treat them. So that was one way. So you can think of other ways. Think of possibilities. You need to, whenever you see a problem, you have to see the possibilities. You have to see the possible solutions. Be sure you have enough information required to help yourself or rescue a person or person. See, I told you, only if you know how to handle a situation, then only you will be able to rescue a person. Like you may be sitting together, and one among you may be eating, you may be sitting together and eating food, and one among you may be having the food, and the food, instead of going to the uh, stomach pipe, or instead of going to the uh, uh, pipe through which the food has to go, it got into the windpipe. It got into the windpipe. So immediately the person need to be rescued. So how are you going to rescue a person? What will you do if you see a snake? What will you see? What will you do if a dog is coming to attack you? Or if you are seeing an accident, how will you respond? You saw somebody falling down on the ground. What are you going to do? You see somebody having a fix. What are you going to do? So some of these basic things you should know, so that whenever there is a problem, you can jump in and rescue a person. Otherwise, you'll be totally confused and will not be not doing what to do. And you should be able to act appropriately. Sometimes, if somebody is having a broken rib or a broken bone, it's better not to take him, or just it's better not to lift him just like that. That could further create problems. What will you do when somebody receives a snake bite? What will you do when somebody receives a dog bite? What will you do when you just fall down when you're walking and you hit somewhere? So when you saw somebody in that position, you should know all such things. Even though you need to take quick action, take a moment to think clearly so as to what you should do. Do not do anything that will endanger you or others. So you saw somebody in the water. Only if you know how to rescue a person, you should jump. Otherwise, both of you will be in trouble. Do not hesitate to ask others to assist you or to raise the alert. So, one thing that you can do is you can raise the alert. You can call somebody for help. You can ask somebody for the. Now, there are two requirements for you to do. There are first requirement is you are at the railway platform waiting to board a train. You heard a loud explosion and see injured people lying around. Discuss the situation with a friend in 3 to 5 sentences. Explain the three most important things that you would do in this situation. That's a homework for you. Okay. And the second question also you can do as a homework.